100 Days and Counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. This is a community call to action brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580, good morning. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show is called First Things First. We call it that for a reason. My first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and let's go. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about as usual. The way we do this show on Fridays, Friday is designated as Freedman Friday. It is always a place where we honor reparations, update reparations, focus on reparations. How do we get there? One of the ways we get there is by knowing what the heck is going on in that space. So that kind of shifts everything on Friday. So hour one, we look local, what's going on the left coast. Hour two, we focus on reparations. Today we'll have attorney Sharice Cryer to talk about some of the latest in the moves going on in California and across the nation. And hour three, we do whatever we do. We'll open up the phone lines for the first part of that hour, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the angelversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today is the day that he was assassinated. And we around here go out of our way to always honor and uplift the people who have given their lives, gave the ultimate sacrifice as he did for Black liberation. And actually, really, if you look at Dr. King, it's not even just Black liberation. It's the liberation of the working class, of our country, of women, of human rights. Remember us, the humans? And so we always mark that day. Of course, Tavis is the king of that, Tavis Smiley, who owns this radio station, because he's written a whole book about it, The Death of a King, which looks at the last year of MLK's life and how he was actually vilified in the press by the respectability politics Negroes, by, even some of the public for stances he took against the war, being painted as a communist with the help of the FBI. And so that, puts things in perspective if you want to take a look at it. I think it puts things in perspective now as we see the struggles going on around our country and across the world. The people that you're condemning for going too far and speaking their minds today will be the heroes of history. That's how I view it. In our first hour, though, we tap in with, it's every other Friday. So guess who's here? He's the president and founder of ES Advisors. It's a public policy and electoral campaign consultancy firm. Ed Sanders is also a KBLA contributor. Hi, Ed.
Dominique, good morning to you. Happy Friday. Really happy to be here this morning. How you doing?
Happy to have you on. I'm excellent. And I'm going to do at the top of the show what I usually try to rush at the end of the show or the end of the hour, which is that you're one of those people. Miles, are you on Twitter? Are you on Twitter? Still on Twitter. Ed, that's like your main socials.
I'm not going to call it my main social.
But it really is.
I think I still have an account on Twitter.
Okay, Edward M. Sanders. Yeah.
Yeah, but I, with Elon Musk and all of that, I can't even support it.
You turned in your Tesla.
Twitter, I can ride in a Tesla if I wanted to.
Yeah, I do ride in a Tesla when I visit my godmother in the Bay because that's what she has. But she got it, when he was still seen as an environmentalist, a green guy. Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, do you think people should try to renegotiate their leases? Maybe that's a good business we should start. Get out of the Tesla business.
Yeah, well, folks are putting Toyota logos on them and different kits to try to make them look like they're not Teslas, and bumper stickers and other things that I've seen. But yeah, I think a trade-in might be hard because people are trading them in, and the stock is down. So anyway, you can find him at Edward M. Sanders. You can find me at DiPrima Radio. Miles, are you on Twitter?
At Miles Low Music, so I don't use it as much anymore either. Post the mixtape link, maybe post a music video here or there, but that's it.
Yeah, I was planning to stay because I like to see the crazy stuff, those people who practice the delusion of white supremacy, to see what they're up to, and all of the insane mis and disinformation that Mr. Musk himself spreads. But then when I heard that his AI company was buying his Twitter company, I don't know, something about that seemed a little ominous, like he's going to, amp up the AI tracking of people and voices on there.
Yeah, whatever it is, that you're not going to know. I mean, the transparency won't be there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know. I kind of feel like I just don't want him to have anything of mine. But I'm still there. So
we're in that space with all the tech companies, though, where when you look at the inauguration and all of the tech giants are standing there with President Trump, there's something to it, right? You see the advent of AI. We're so dependent on our phones and our technology, and it gets a little Orwellian,
or a lot, yeah. or a lot. They all in our business. Every time I agree to some terms of service, I cringe because I know I have not thoroughly looked at it, and who knows what I just agreed to? Yeah. What did I just agree to? And we get your firstborn. Click. I agree. So I said I was going to pay more attention to basketball, but I haven't, man. I've been so busy trying to keep up with this show every day. So what happened to the Lakers? What's going on? I mean, I understand. Yeah, we didn't have a good night last night, right?
We didn't. It was a good game, but it was, in the end, the Warriors, the incredible shooting on both sides in the fourth quarter, but they fell. But, I don't know about you, Miles, or I catching all the highlights late at night, but I'm staying up to watch them. It's a great season on the NBA. And then combine that with all of the March Madness, it's been a good month.
Yeah, it's a good basketball month, and I haven't even tapped in yet. I want to get your thoughts, though, on the UCLA women's team when we come forward. They're playing tonight, right?
I think it's tonight. It might be tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure it's tonight. Anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll talk about that. We got a lot to cover. You are invited in, 800-920-1580. Whether you want to fight with Ed about reparations or big up your team, you're invited in. You can change the subject. We got some protests on the horizon. It seems like every day the protests are picking up more momentum. So we do have a lot to talk about. And we're glad that you're here. It's a good thing we're unapologetically progressive at KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play stopped, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
If you've struggled to lose weight in the past, this important message is for you because you could lose as much as 50 pounds or more with Zelfie. Zelfie makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelfie providers can prescribe FDA-approved GLP-1 weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others. Plus, help get the medication covered by insurance so it's as little as $0 a month.
The doctors are super helpful, and the meds have been a game changer. It's the first program I've had success with.
Before Zelfie, I was unable to lose weight, even though I was eating healthy and exercising 6 days a week. Zelfie helped me not only lose weight, but I feel so much better.
Text GOAL to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy or Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text GOAL to 200-300. That's GOAL to 200-300. GOAL to 200-300.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one. Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now. So it is UCLA women's basketball tonight at 6 versus UConn. That's a big deal, right? I mean, it's not like we're in the finals of March Madness every year, right, Ed?
No, first time for UCLA women.
First time ever?
First time ever that they're in the Final
Four.
They went in as the number one overall seed, and they've been marching through. They've had a great season. Some of it lost on the luster across town at USC with just the superstar that Juju Watson is.
Watkins, yeah. Have we heard anything about her recovery?
Oh, not directly. I mean, you just know it's I think 9-10 months, something like that.
Ooh, Lord.
And a long road, which is part of the story of tonight on the UConn side with Paige Buckers and her recovery, because she had similar injury that caused her to miss 2 years. So
2 years.
It's going to be a good game. That
crazy.
UConn UCLA game is going to be a great game.
Yeah. So we know what you're doing tonight, Ed.
Yeah, locking in, finish up work for today and get right to it. Watch basketball all weekend. Because the Texas-South Carolina game before it is just as good. You got Dawn Staley over there in South Carolina with her team, and she's always fun. She's probably the best personality in women's college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really follow college sports at all, but I got to meet her at the Democratic convention, and she was really cool. She was smart and conscious and just cool. So, yeah,
Engaging all of it.
might even have to start watching. So, you know what else is happening this weekend, Ed, is nothing but protests. Like there's protests planned, not just in the usual spots, not just New York, LA, San Francisco, and Chicago. They're planning them for small towns all over the United States. So far, 500,000 people have RSVP'd to go to marches across the country. I've been to a lot of protests. I've never RSVP'd. So to me, if you've got folks RSVPing 500,000, that means you're probably going to have 1 million people out on the streets. I'm guessing, because have you ever RSVP'd for a march?
No. I mean, it's all part of an organizing effort, which is great.
Yeah.
But no, I've never done that. We've gone to marches, like without Phil, we've gone to marches, but
yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's an indication of the size of it, because I've been to many a march. I've never RSVP'd, and that means that a lot of people who didn't do so will be marching.
there's a lot of anger in the country right now, and it's there's a whole lot of we knew this was coming, we told you this was coming, and you still voted for this guy. We see on social media all these sort of crybaby stories of, I didn't, what did happen to me? But I think this week is, each week has been something new and more terrible than the last. But the announcement of the tariffs this week and what it did to the stock market, and combine that with the layoffs, it just feels so bleak on the economic side. And that's, from an elected official standpoint, that's a horrible thing to do to the country, is just put people where they're not sure about their futures, because it creates such uncertainty and sort of angst, and that's what you're going to see in these marches. I wish we had that sort of energy going into the November election. Right, we needed incredible turnout, and one thing this thing will do is organize a base of people that are angry at the administration. Now we just have to find a way to talk to them about their issues so that we can keep them engaged.
Well, Melania moved her spring garden party from the White House from Saturday to Sunday because of the protests. But the press secretary said, we don't care about no protests. You think that's going to change Trump's mind? She can say that, but nobody wants that, right? I mean, potentially hundreds of thousands of people marching specifically against your administration. I didn't realize, Ed, that in February there were almost 2,100 protests clocked across the country, and that's according to UConn, the University of Connecticut, Harvard Kennedy School, and that's like more than double what we had in February of 2017 after his first election. So it shows you, to your point, the anger that's out there.
Oh, I didn't know somebody counted that. That's that's incredible.
That is incredible, right?
Every day you find out a new stat, right?
I like data. You know that. I'm a data nerd. I like to have facts to back up my theories. Yeah, but go ahead.
On the Melania thing, though, it's there's such a let them eat cake attitude with them. That I think they will actually enjoy having their little event while people are protesting. There's a sickness to them that I think they enjoy that.
Well, she must have heard something, or the Secret Service heard something, because they're moving it to Sunday.
But take the day of the terrorists, right? I think I was watching a story somewhere where how you ring the opening bell of the market every morning.
Right.
They invite a new company to do that, and the day that he announced the tariffs, it was Newsmax, the new conservative station, And so they had, the CEO there, but all the sort of Trump personalities from Rudy Giuliani on down. And they're the ones ringing the bell, celebrating. And, minutes later, the stock market is plunging down, right? And it's just sort of this weird, sick sort of presentation that they just take glee in. And so, weird times for us.
Yeah. I mean, look, did you see Vice President Harris's remarks? She's talking about, people not standing up. And I like that, what she said, because she was kind of calling people out for complying and, being complicit with what is happening in this administration. But she said, hey, I'm not here to say I told you so. But it kind of did sound like she was saying, I told you so.
Right.
I personally don't take joy in those videos you're talking about, people being deported who voted for Trump, people losing their jobs who voted for Trump. What I would take joy in is if they would wake up and understand that, that wasn't the correct direction for our country. I'm not like, ha, 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 you get deported. I don't know. It seems really terrible to be snatched up and taken somewhere where your family may or may not know where you are, and that kind of thing. I don't take joy in that.
Yeah, I don't know about joy, right? Like I don't enjoy, hearing anyone go through some measure of strife, but there is a miss me with that.
Yeah, I don't cry me a river
I
for
do
sure.
Feel that,
yeah,
you can keep those tears to yourself, and in terms of the bad thing that's happened to you, sure, I don't want you to go through it, but now are you asking me for help? That's a whole nother story,
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm not that altruistic. It's definitely cry me a river, but I'm just saying I don't take glee in it. Okay, we only have a few minutes till news, traffic, and sports, but I'm going to start this stuff anyway. Have you seen the polling going around about testing the waters for mayoral runs? There's the polling with Rick Caruso, Alex Mejia, Ken Mejia, excuse me, our controller, Monica Rodriguez, the city councilwoman, and of course, Rick Caruso. They're clearly lining up now to run against our mayor. And I've seen polling on Lindsay Horvath. To me, the LA Times made their position clear yesterday. They put on the front page a story about how Palisades residents see Tracy Park as the face of fire recovery.
Right.
Right. Like a real slick headline. We see who you're supporting, although they're probably going to support Rick Caruso. I don't know. They'll have to, two possible Republicans to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of it. It's not, again, when someone puts together a poll, they're throwing names in there, and so it's a little less around, who's actually thinking about it, and more so that somebody's throwing names in the test.
When you say somebody's thinking about it, I mean, don't potential candidates pay for such polls to see if their runs are even viable?
Some do. Sometimes it's the LA Times. Sometimes it's other people that study politics. So, part of it is figuring out.
I mean, that wasn't published in the Times. Those are things that I've got through other sources. Who shall remain unnamed.
But the point being, you have to see who paid for the poll and whose poll it is.
Right. And I don't have that information.
A little better understanding of what it was they're trying to test and see. The city is full of personalities, and you kind of wait to see who has the gumption to run. That's getting your name in a poll and actually running are two totally different things. It's not. I don't think a couple weeks after the fire, that you're going to get some interesting numbers from that perspective. But generally, I don't know that anyone citywide has like really great appeal. Caruso probably has the largest name ID in that he just ran for mayor against the Mayor Bass.
And spent $100 million publicizing, said 103, I think it is. Anyway, we got news, traffic, and sports right here. We'll continue talking. You're invited in. KBLA Talk, 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Columbus NAACP leadership election in Ohio is postponed after a judge granted former Columbus chapter president Nana Watson's request to block it. Watson seeks to appeal her suspension and run for president again. French President Emmanuel Macron urges European nations to halt U.S. investments due to Trump's 20% tariffs on EU exports. He met with industry reps, stressing suspension until issues are resolved. The Pentagon's watchdog is investigating the Trump administration's use of Signal after a security breach involving a journalist after a request from top senators. 3 National Security Council staffers were dismissed following the incident. And the deadline to get your real ID is May 7th. You'll need it for government buildings and airport security, but a passport works for domestic travel. Apply with documents showing your legal name and birth date. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Step into springtime at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. From March 29th to April 20th, celebrate the season of transformation with a stroll through Butterfly Jungle. Discover a kaleidoscope of beauty with butterflies of every size, shape, and color. Learn more about this vibrant world at sdzsafaripark.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A troubling loss for the Lakers last night at home to Golden State. Steph Curry scored 37 to lead Golden State to a 123-116 win. The Lakers dropped from 3rd to 4th in the Western Conference standings. After tonight's home game against New Orleans, 4 of the Lakers' last 5 regular season games are on the road, including 2 at number 1 Oklahoma City. The Lakers are only 2 games away from falling out of the top 6 for an automatic spot in the playoffs. The Clippers are playing Dallas tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. The Clippers are only a half game behind Memphis and Minnesota to move into the 6th spot. It's game night for the UCLA women's basketball team. UCLA takes on Connecticut in the Final Four at Tampa. 6:30 tip-off on ESPN. It'll be interesting to see how the Bruins, the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, respond to being a 7.5-point underdog. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms: irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. Call 800-335-2299. That's 800-335-2299.
After producing an award-winning climate justice campaign in 2024, KBLA Talk 1580 has gone all in on its 2025 Climate Justice plus Black Health Initiative. April is Minority Health Month, and Urban Family Focus, in partnership with Providence Health Systems, presents The Heart of the Matter. Providence doctors and health equity officers will participate in informative and life-changing conversations on hypertension, health equity, behavioral health, and community engagement. Don't miss these empowering conversations on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 and Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sponsored by Providence, Southern California's largest and most comprehensive health care network. We've got a lot to talk about on KBLA Talk 1580. Download the KBLA 1580 app or log in to KBLA1580.com. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. On KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Ed Sanders and Dominique DiPrima here, and they are talking about what we're talking about in the chat. Jerry said UConn, I think, is the better team tonight. Man Ray says Rick Caruso has stated many times that he's a registered Democrat. He also gave a swanky fundraiser on the West Side for Joe Biden during the campaign. Yeah, but he was a Republican until he decided to run for mayor. So that's not it. That little card trick that they like to do, same thing Nathan Hochman did, doesn't impress me. If you've been a Republican your whole life and you are going to run for office in a blue state and suddenly decide to change to the Democratic Party, I still consider you purple at best.
Yeah, that's I've always sort of chuckled at people that sort of have that option to switch between parties, right? And I as an African American, I'm drawn to the Democratic Party behind the civil rights movement and the elements of protecting African American opportunity and civil rights. And I've always viewed the Republican Party as the antithesis of that. And so there's no way I go Republican, right? And, it's just interesting when you hear people, I've switched parties. It's like, what brought you to the table? And, how is it that you've abandoned it to go to the other side?
Because I'd like to be a citywide or countywide office holder in Los Angeles. That's...
exactly.
And okay, to your point, if I was going to leave the Democratic Party, which I have been pondering, I'm not going Republican. I'm going to go decline to state, no party preference or whatever it's called these days, or probably not Green Party, maybe and Justice for All Party. Maybe I'll join Dr. West's party. I don't know. I'm not going over there with the Confederate team.
I've spent a career, and a life, fighting against that party's policies and sort of switch and go to it. Even if I'm dissatisfied on the Democratic side, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, it's the party, not the people. I'm always, me and John Wood like to fight. I have friends who are Republicans. I don't have a problem with the human beings, but to your point, it's the policies. Well, some of the human beings I do have a problem with. Generally, I don't have a problem with the human beings.
Yeah, I mean, it almost is. It sometimes it's hard to separate. You know what I mean? Like individuals personally, do I like you or not? That's there's a lot of people I don't particularly like, either Republican or Democrat. It's what you're advocating for, right? And once we've had a conversation, and I like to lay out a lot of facts and thoughts on those issues, and particularly if your arguments are really, really weak about why you're supporting it, I generally don't like you. So yeah.
So, but just to wrap up that conversation about who's running for mayor, to me it's clear that Lindsay Horvath is either running for mayor or that newly created county CEO elected position, because she's been throwing our mayor under the bus, attacking other black women in a manner that I find very distasteful for someone who considers themselves a progressive, but also that's clearly meant to set up a certain kind of profile. And it's typically a campaign profile, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, I don't disagree with you that the time currently around the fires as a way to raise their profile. Ultimately, whether they pull the trigger and run, again, I think are two totally different things. But in the end game, you may be right, and that's what happens. But
well, you've worked on way more campaigns than I have. So you're saying they may do the polling, they may be throwing the mayor under the bus and trying to make themselves look good, politicizing the moment of the fire with the help of the LA Times. But it doesn't mean they'll pull the trigger and actually run. Why?
Well, there's a lot, right? One, all of what we know about the fires hasn't, in all transparency, hasn't been laid out, right? When you think about Lindsay Horvath and the district that she represents, where the Palisades are, you have to ask the question, what was done from the county side to protect the Palisades? I know it's a portion of the city of Los Angeles, but there's a lot that can still come out and change the conversation and the narrative on which people are sort of basing their current emotions on. I expect that. And so, I don't know, right? Any poll is just giving you a snapshot of today, right? And today is not when you're running for office. And so,
yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And because even though I'm not a campaign consultant or staffer as you've been, I agree with it because a lot can happen. The news cycle is, can I say hella on the radio? Hella fickle. and a lot
on the West Coast.
My Bay Area roots are showing.
West Coast Talk Radio, love it.
It's because a lot can happen between now and, the election, right? And our heads are in the fire in the response. And the to your point, the city fire department is not being particularly transparent about what they did or didn't do. When people get off of their emotional highs or lows and start looking at the facts, it's going to become clear that the mayor did an amazing job. And I think all kinds of things can happen. It's going to, like you said, it's a pulse of now. So it matters what's going on that's moving us when elections hit. So this idea that our mayor is a sitting duck or that these folks are smelling blood in the water, I think it's premature.
Sure. I mean, it's one thing to say that people might be upset about a particular issue. It's a total other thing to say it, raise the money, get on the ballot, and then have something to say about yourself, right? Like right now, this is just a conversation about, she was on a plane in Ghana, and in the end game, that doesn't even make sense. We all run our businesses off our cell phones, frankly. So it's
that's true.
Once people sit down and start thinking about, why am I even upset about this? Or, who is this person and what are they saying they're going to do? Because that's what's missing in the conversation is what any of these potential people do, right? That's why we voted. Rick Caruso had a big name, but we saw what he wanted to do, and the city of LA rejected it. And so that's what's missing out of these polls. It's just a little popularity snapshot right now, and that doesn't matter much.
Yeah. This has got to be terrifying for you as a father of school-age babies. The first case of measles pops out in Riverside County. They're asking people in Riverside County, officials asking people to be vigilant, whatever that means. I don't know. It reminds me of COVID, not because it's a pandemic, but because sometimes it's amazing how quickly these things can spread. You're like, oh, Riverside is far away. Oh, China's far away. Wait, what? It's everywhere. So I'm just, I'm wary about what this could bring. How are you feeling about it?
When I hear something like this, what troubles me most is that it's really a conversation about your trust in government, right? Or your trust in the medical profession. And Robert Kennedy Jr. as the health secretary, people are questioning a lot of stuff, and rightly so, right? If you put something in your body, you should know what it is and what it's designed to do. There's been a lot of pushback on vaccinations, right? And whether it's just sort of a backlash against, from the conservative side. I've seen it on the liberal side. I've seen it with immigrant communities. When you get the enough people that have declined measles vaccination, you start to see the cases pop up. And we haven't lived in a time where there's, outside of the COVID, where we've seen measles outbreak and what it can do and all that sort of stuff. And so that's sort of buried in the history books as to why we even do the vaccinations. And, my point is that there's this distrust that people have, and sometimes it's warranted. Sometimes it puts the community at risk. And there's a fine line to that.
Yeah. I think that's right. And have you seen the polling? Well, it's not polling. It's some kind of data that shows that the closer you are to a Whole Foods, the less likely children are to be vaccinated. So, I mean,
wait, say that again. The closer you are, the less likely you are.
Yeah, because of a lot of the holistic folks who would shop at a Whole Foods do not believe in vaccines. So it's kind of a counterintuitive trend. The closer you get to a Whole Foods, the more likely you are to find unvaccinated children. So
but you know why? Let me throw this one out and let me see what you think. So think about all the people that are terrified to vaccinate their newborns because they thought it was, or think that it is the cause of autism.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I think that's the population that's around a Whole Foods.
Right, and that's why they're against vaccines. Well, you're saying it's not just the holistic ones; it's the ones that think they're going to get autism, even though that science has been debunked. Now, I agree with you. I'm not going to say that you automatically have to take every vaccination or you have to do it according to their schedule, but people need to check and double check these theories and that they're getting. These RFK theories. Because the science is out there, and science is, by its nature, verified, checked, and double checked. So,
yes, but yes and no, right? Like polling, you also have to look and see who pays for the studies.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, mm-hmm. and because everyone that puts money forward has a vested interest, and so. There's some of these things where there really sort of needs to be sort of a level of a commission and just some level of transparency on that, right? I haven't done that much of a deep dive, but it is clear to me that without understanding who's funded what study, it's the points aren't necessarily clear. And I say that to say that your point is right? We have to do the research, understand it, but there's motivations in all of it. So,
yeah, for sure, especially when it comes to pharmaceutical stuff. Anything about pharmaceuticals. I mean, I feel like we have to follow the money. That said, people die from measles. Even a mild case of measles can create very big problems. And I'm not a pro-vaxxer. I was offered a lot of money during COVID to go out there and tell you to take a vaccine, and I turned it down because I feel like people should have free choice. But vaccines have eliminated polio and have made measles no longer a deadly scourge. That's what the data shows. It's not just a study by a pharmaceutical. It's not just it's not just a notion that is being promoted here and there. You can read the studies. You can see the trend lines in people dying and getting sick. And I'm sorry, but, saying, okay, well, I believe that there's some chance that my child may get autism from this when your child is in a place where there are measles and they can die from that. You got to do a cost-benefit analysis on that.
Right. Completely agree. And, I think what you see is, and the reason why we have to talk about stories like that is because we have to inform people of, these upticks, right? Okay, measles is creeping back in. I've seen polio cases occurring again in the United States. And, if
again, people
scarlet
die
fever
from
showed
polio.
up-
They become permanently
Right.
disabled. Like, this is none to play with.
Right, exactly. And, again, to your point, like, these are things that had more or less been eradicated. And, so there are actually like generations of people here that don't have a connection to polio, like don't have a relative that's still living that was afflicted with polio, or have even met anyone afflicted with polio. So you don't see how life-changing that is when an infant contracts it. So I agree with you. Look, I mean, it's public health is something that we've all been focused on. You learn it. I think we learned it as a generation, really, with COVID. But, look, Dominique, even when we look back to the COVID period, when, you took the leadership mantle to keep our community informed around what was happening. You were doing the daily show, and you were bringing the best minds in the industry of health and science to the forefront so that our community could understand what COVID was doing. This is an ongoing conversation, and that's why it's so important to have, thoughtful conversation around it. And in a lot of ways, that doesn't happen everywhere. And so you see some poor behaviors.
Yeah, we went to 6 days a week during the emergency phase of COVID. I was on Saturdays doing those town halls. You helped with those. So that was my approach. Give the people all of the information, and then you figure it out for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but here's the information, here's the science. And I think that's what I'm urging folks now. Look at it. Don't just react to some TikTok video or what a friend told you or a rumor. 800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in. When we come forward, I want to talk about California and several other attorneys general suing the Trump administration about voting. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. S&P volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an S&P open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has work source centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Dominique DiPrima here with Ed Sanders. Before we launch into this voting thing, the protest in downtown LA, hands off, Los Angeles fights back, is tomorrow from 4 to 8 p.m. at Pershing Square, which is 532 South Olive. Mobilize.us hands-off event. If you want to RSVP, you can do that. And they're doing a caravan from Long Beach. They're meeting at the Del Amo Metro Station and caravanning to downtown LA. So they're meeting between 2 and 3 there and gathering in order to be there 4 p.m. to gather at Pershing Square at 4. They're marching to City Hall at 5. They're rallying at City Hall at 6. So, yeah, it's going to be a whole thing going on in L.A.
Man, good to see it. Looking forward to seeing that energy build, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, Rob Bonta, our Attorney General, who is running for governor, right? I feel like there's
did he declare?
I think so. I don't know.
He's one of those names that I see mentioned, but I don't know that I've seen that he
yeah,
declared.
I might be wrong about that. Okay, but anyway, he's announcing that he and a bunch of other attorneys general are suing the Trump administration over their executive order around the voting rules nationwide. They're calling it a power grab to disenfranchise voters. Thoughts?
From the Trump side, they continued after the 2020 election with the rigged election narrative. And so he issued this executive order / proclamation. And it just flies in the face of, the constitutionality of elections, right? And it's laughable because elections are state-run, right? Like it's a local, it's a local jurisdiction, so it really doesn't have any legs, except that you don't really quite understand how the Supreme Court and the judicial side of the equation on the federal side is even going to interpret this. But what's clear about his executive order is it's designed to limit access to voting, right? It would force you to have an ID, necessarily to show proof of citizenship. And on the face of it, that may sound okay until you look at how it's implemented, right?
Yeah.
If you needed to get your DMV license and the office was 150 miles away, how many people would not go to get their license? And that's what they do in the South. We saw that in Georgia. We literally saw them do that. And so, kudos to Bonta. Kudos, I think it was 19 states that filed the lawsuit. It's a shame that it's only 19. That's what I took out of that story. It really should be 50 states.
You're right. And you were right, Ed. Attorney General Rob Bonta apparently announced he will not run for governor. I don't know how I missed that story. Javier Becerra, the health secretary under Biden, is running, which did surprise me. So we've got Villaraigosa and him, both in the Becerra, both in the race. That's going to be weird. Maybe Kamala Harris. So anyway.
You got Porter, you got Thurman. Everyone's gearing up.
Oh, I forgot about Porter. Yeah, Thurman, of course. Yeah, and of course, the sheriff out there, San Bernardino, the former Proud Boy, like Chad Bianco dude, he's running too.
It's going to be such an important race, right? Like the person that captures the Democratic Party nomination for governor in the state of California, it has a lot of influence on, that election has a lot of influence on how Democrats think nationwide. And so, as these candidates come forward and start to lay out their platforms, it's going to be interesting to see how, the California electorate moves, because that'll give you some insight into what the next presidential election is going to look like.
Got a minute here, Ed. What do you want to leave us with this morning?
Wow. You think about, everything that's going on. I kind of come back to as Friday's coming up, I see the sun coming up, reflecting on being the human, right? As we get into the day, we spent an hour talking about, a lot of the issues here locally than how, the national politics. And I know that it can play with people's moods. And so I just encourage folks as we get into the weekend, take a moment, get outside, go for a walk, do something active, but reset, know that we're a strong community and that we keep moving forward.
Yeah. It's well said. Edward M. Sanders on Twitter. He might not post much, but he's there. Ed, thank you so much for joining this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
It's reparations time. Freedman Friday is next after news, traffic, and sports, only right here.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Columbus NAACP leadership election in Ohio is postponed after a judge granted former Columbus chapter president Nana Watson's request to block it. Watson seeks to appeal her suspension and run for president again.